Starting a business on your own can be quite challenging because all of the decisions lie with you.
You become so focused on your work and sometimes the balance just slightly rocks in the wrong direction.
As entrepreneurs, a lot of people come from similar backgrounds and a lot of people have similar concerns when they start their business.
I didn't have any experience and I really hardly had any money to start it up, so I was just thinking out of the box and seeing what was out there.
The Business and IP Centre in London is really the start of a national rollout of business and IP centres throughout England. What we're doing is we're empowering people by giving them the knowledge that they need to make the right decision.
We've got one of the largest business and information collections in the entire UK, with experienced staff on hand to help our customers use these resources.
The centre actually proves that the library is not only for academics but also for business people and provides very high quality resources to help entrepreneurs.
We've got keynote reports, Mintel reports, which will enable them to do market research.
We offer workshops, we offer one-to-one advice sessions.
One that we attended and that was really useful was the one with the IP lawyer. We went there and learned how to protect our images and footage.
People have come back and offered to speak at some of our events because they want to share the experience that they've had in the centre with other people.
The most useful programme for me was the Innovating for Growth programme, which is designed to support owners of small businesses develop and grow their businesses and step outside of them and really look at them from a commercial and strategic perspective.
It's always a fantastic experience to meet other entrepreneurs, share information, share doubt and success.
It is the most phenomenal programme and it's helped me strip down my business, which is what I really wanted to do.
If you're not sure where to begin or just need someone to talk to about your idea, the BIPC is a great place to start.
Hello, my name is Tim Brennan and I'm the inventor of the shoe that led to the barefoot running movement. The name of this shoe is Vivo Barefoot, which I created when I was a design student at the Royal College of Art back in 2001. The concept was to allow the foot to function as nature intended by utilising space-age materials to make a shoe that was lightweight, ultra-thin and flexible. Barefoot running is about being in touch with our own nature and allowing our feet to be free and healthy. I believe this message has come at an opportune time as consumers have a more powerful voice than ever when it comes to the environment and health. Currently, I'm working to take the barefoot shoe concept to the next level and revolutionise the health of millions of people's feet worldwide. I'm looking for a licensing deal with a major shoe manufacturer to create a shoe that is not only most desirable by young people, but is also the world's best shoe for your feet. This is a passion project for me because I firmly believe that foot health is the foundation for all aspects of health. I think that having healthy feet in the formative years makes it possible to get healthy exercise throughout one's entire lifetime and fend off a myriad of illnesses and diseases that, such as heart disease, cancer and stroke. I'm here to welcome you to this evening's Inspiring Entrepreneurs Cultural Change Makers event, because I'm also a user of the Business and IP Centre and I have benefited from the brilliant support it offers entrepreneurs and SMEs. It can help to start, protect and grow your business, and I have participated in the library's ERDF-funded Innovating for Growth programme, which was invaluable in helping me take a step back from day-to-day challenges of running my business and becoming more strategic in my decision-making in order to make my work, take my work to the next level. The Centre supports entrepreneurs day in, day out by providing training, one-to-one support, connection building through networking, inspirational events like tonight, and free access to the UK's most comprehensive and valuable collection of business data, market research, and intellectual property resources. Since launching in 2006, the Business and IP Centre has welcomed over 750,000 people through its doors and consistently excels at supporting diverse audiences, with 63% of users currently women and 46% from BAME backgrounds. I would definitely encourage any small business owner today to go to the website and find out how the British Library can help them achieve their business ambitions. Not just in London, but at any of the 13 national network business and IP centres operating around the country, some of which are joining us live tonight. So thank you very much for listening, and now I believe handing over to Amy. Is that right? Yeah. Thank you.
Hello. Can you hear me okay? Is this, yeah? Welcome, welcome. Everyone, please take a seat wherever you like.
I'll sit at this end.
Yeah, wherever you like. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Inspiring Entrepreneurs Cultural Change Makers panel. And to kind of set the scene, the UK boasts one of the most dynamic, thriving, and diverse cultural landscapes on earth. And our cultural sector here in the UK contributes almost £30 billion to our economy and continues to grow. This is more than agriculture, actually, more than the car industry, more than many of the large industries that are given so much attention and support. So we're here tonight to explore how the people on this stage have turned their cultural passions into businesses. So my name is Amy LeMay. I'm going to be your moderator tonight. I am the Night Czar of London. I was appointed by the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, in 2016 to have a strategic overview of London at night. And the cultural and creative industries are a hugely important part of the work that I do. And that's why I'm so thrilled to be here tonight. My background is also in starting and running my own arts business and nightclub. So I can really identify with a lot of the issues that I know our panelists have faced as well. So we're going to be hearing from our panelists. Each of them will be doing a short presentation, but Jamal and I are going to have a chat instead, because he's like that. He just likes to chat. And then I'll ask a few follow-up questions, and then we're going to open it up to the audience, because I'm sure you're going to have loads and loads of questions for them tonight. I wanted to let you know that after our discussion tonight, there's going to be drinks, reception, and you're all very welcome to attend. And that will give you an opportunity to have an up-close chat with our panelists as well. You are being streamed, live streamed, and we welcome those who are watching the live stream in Cambridge, in Exeter, Glasgow, Leeds, Liverpool, Norwich, Nottingham, Peterborough, Poole, and Worcester tonight. Nice. So we are fully connected across the UK, which is a great feeling. And you can join in the conversation, whether you're here in the room in London or further afield, with our hashtag, which is hashtag BIPCculture. So I now get the opportunity to introduce to you our panelists. So I'll tell you a little bit about each one of them, and then we'll kick off with Rick's presentation. So Rick Lowe is the founder of Brands in Limited, which is a leading supplier of licensed apparel and accessories to major fashion retailers. Basically, if you shop, you've probably bought one of his pieces. The business holds licenses with Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, Warner Brothers, and a whole host of music IP, including global acts like AC/DC, Pink Floyd, and David Bowie. Brands In's key focus is quick response supply to high street retailers, including New Look, Primark, ASOS, Boohoo, and Amazon worldwide. Now, sitting to my left is Irene Agubonten, and she is the founder of TTYA, which stands for Taller Than Your Average. I don't know whether you noticed when she walked in, but she's quite tall, and this has influenced her her fashion decision and business decision. She's a former fashion stylist. She knows firsthand the frustrations that many women who are taller than average experience when shopping for clothes. She is it 5'11"? Yes. And she decided to start her own brand dedicated to tall women. It was goodbye to sort of wrist and ankle swingers when maybe putting on a men's shirt or something. So it launched in 2013 in Selfridges. It's gone on to have a home in New York as well, and was the first pioneering tall brand to debut on ASOS.com. So thank you so much for being with us. And last but certainly not least, I get to introduce to you Jamal Edwards, MBE, entrepreneur and founder of SBTV, the first new media business on YouTube. And the channel boasts over 1 million subscribers. I don't know how many you're up to exactly at the moment, but well over 1 million, with 700 million plus views. And he's helped to give way to some of the biggest acts in British music: Dave, Jessie J, Nadia Rose, Ed Sheeran, and many more. And he's recognized from his rise from teenage entrepreneur to media mogul. And he was also the youngest person to be awarded an MBE in 2014. He's one of the 30 most influential people under 30 in the business, according to Forbes, and we're not going to argue with that at all. So we're really pleased to have you with us tonight, Jamal. Thank you. I'm now going to turn you over to Rick, who's going to tell us a little bit more about Brands in Unlimited and your journey.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everybody, and thanks, Amy, for that intro. It's a real privilege to speak tonight at the British Library. It's a real iconic institution, and I hope I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes on my background, my business, and probably what got me there, and mistakes and things I've learned. So it's hopefully of value to you. As Amy said, my name's Rick Lowe. I'm a co-founder of a company called Brands in Limited. It's about 7 or 8 years old. But perhaps before I tell you a bit about that, I should tell you a bit about my journey and how I started as an entrepreneur, because I was quite a late entrepreneur. I was 37 years old when I started my own business. I'd been I went to university to do an engineering degree, electronic engineering. Then I worked in the city in a technical role, which I wasn't very good at. And then I got into sales, and I got very good at it. By like any muscle, if you exercise it and you practice it, it gets better. And that business did very well, but I was a corporate sales. I was employed, and I knew that I wanted to do something on my own, and I knew I wanted to do something, courageous and to get out there and define my own destiny, let's say. So I wasn't really a young entrepreneur. I'd started, and like all of us, you've got to start and learn the hard way, as knocks and bruises along that journey. So in terms of what, so in terms of what Brands In does, just to give you a bit of perspective, we take very large licensed IP like Disney or entertainment, Warner Brothers, music, and we put it onto clothes, and we make that all out of the UK, or most all of it, all made in a vertical setup we've got in London. So we take a license from Mickey Mouse or Friends or Pink Floyd, and then we do a fashion range, and it's mainly jersey products. So it's T-shirts, what we call fast fashion, essentially. And as I said, that business is probably 7 or 8 years old now, and it's just getting some growth and real momentum. And we sell worldwide online, but we also sell to most of the high street names Amy alluded to before. And I think the interesting thing is that as we've expanded, we've gone into different categories. So we've gone into things like drinks bottles, accessories, caps, headwear, whatever you name it. Anything we can leverage our license with, that's what we've done. And of course, as fast fashion grows, new items, or if it's crop tops or leggings or tie-dye t-shirts, we've got to be on the move to do that. And we generally respond to an order in about 5 days to 10 days. So if New Look hit us with an order today, that will be in store next week, all out of London. So that kind of, let's say, environmental trend is gaining momentum, and we're right at on the forefront of that. These are some of the people who like to wear retro, iconic IP. You'll know most of those celebrities, but iconic IP never really goes out of fashion. Mickey Mouse can be, on a £700 t-shirt or a £7 t-shirt. There's ways we can move it and change it to make it relevant. It never really goes away. With music, it's most of the older classic rock acts and hip-hop acts that stay in fashion. We've sold more AC/DC shirts than I knew there were AC/DC fans, but it's still on trend, it still sells, so does Bowie, so does Pink Floyd. So it's got a global appeal, and it's cool, which is why people wear it. I think what's important, though, is that's not where it started. My journey started here. Oh, actually, no, let me just tell you about the retailers. The retailers we deal with, you might well know, so Amazon, ASOS, Next, do a lot with Topshop, Topman. Boohoo's a big growing account for us, Primark, Urban Outfitters, and we do a lot with others, but they're kind of our main brick and mortar and online retailers we use. But as I was saying, my journey started on Portobello Road, and I'd met a guy in a nightclub. There's always a story attached to things in life, and he had an idea about Space Invaders t-shirts and putting them on t-shirts and selling them. Well, I'd never played a video game in my life, still haven't, but I thought it was a good idea. So we made some t-shirts, we went to Portobello Market, we got a stand, and we sold one t-shirt all day. Now, most people would have given up and just thought it's a waste of time, shouldn't really do this, but no, we carried on, and really what that business started with is me with a wheelie bag going up and down the high streets in the UK, knocking on fashion retailers' doors. That's when there used to be independent stores, there aren't anymore, of course, and trying to sell the t-shirts. And we grew that brand, and we made all the mistakes possible, hired the wrong people, bought the wrong stock, ran out of money, etc., etc., etc. But one of the things it teaches you when you're starting your business is you've got to learn how all your business works, and you've got to do things you don't like doing, and you've got to find people quickly who are good at what you're not good at to grow your business. And there's a very interesting YouTube talk that the head of Apple did, and what he said everything in life has got 3 points connected to it. So a lot of the things I do today, the skills I learned right back at the start of my business. So for any of you that's going through a growth curve, whatever you're doing today will be of value. You can definitely confirm that. One of the things I thought I'd leave you with really is, because we were talking earlier about kind of what you learn on your journey, and there's 3 real game changers that I keep close to me that I've learned. And the first one is really in business, nowadays you've got to be fearless. Fearless isn't really lack of fear, it's putting it to good use and using it to your advantage. But really fearlessness means confidence. When you're out there with your business, if you're really locked into it and you do it with conviction, you will naturally get doors open and you'll attract people to you. So I think fearlessness is one of the key things I've learned. The next one is focus, because there's so many interruptions in our day now, social media, text messages, WhatsApp, whatever it is in business, it's very difficult. But, what you focus on grows. And I think if you've got a clear plan and a clear vision, sticking to it, there's only 24 hours in a day. No one as clever as Mark Zuckerberg might be, no one's invented more than 24 hours in a day. So how you use it is invaluable to growing your business. And the last one's flexible, because the only constant is change. That's what Einstein said. And whatever happens tomorrow, I probably know how my morning's going to go, but I guarantee I don't know how my afternoon's going to go yet, but I'll find out tomorrow morning. So you've got to remain flexible. You've got to embrace it. because it's not going to go away. It's a bit like a jumbo jet taking off in New York, travelling to London. It knows where it's going, but it might have to go up 2,000 feet to get out of a storm, or bank left, bank right, but eventually it'll land at Heathrow. And that's really what a modern day business is like. So that's a little bit about me, about my business. Hope that's been useful. So for any of you who are out there starting your own business or on that journey, well done. It's a courageous thing to do. So remember to keep focused and keep flexible and be fearless in what you do. Thank you.
Rick, really love those 3 points. I love when things come in threes because you can easily remember them. And I'm wondering if you could give us an example, really, from your own experience of when you've had to be fearless, when you've had to focus, and when you've had to be flexible.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think fearlessness really comes from confidence. I think if you're really locked into your business and you do it with conviction, your self-belief will translate to fearlessness. And that's what people buy in any situation, commercial situation. Is this person sitting in front of me really, is he in his business for himself and everybody else, or is he just doing it because he thinks it's a good idea?
Yeah.
So I think that's the crucial thing.
Yeah. Has there been a moment in your business, running your business, where you felt like, oh, the fear's creeping in, or my confidence is knocked a bit, but you had to push through?
Yeah, I think when you're dealing with big retailers, you've probably, when you start, got to appear bigger than you are. So you've got to big yourself up, But I think providing you're credible, you'll get away with it. But you've got to, it's a game really, that whole, romance of a relationship with a retailer or a customer for all of us. And people will read that naturally.
So it sounds like holding your nerve.
That's one way of putting it.
And what about flexibility? I find this hugely important in the role that I do, and particularly with, let's say the political and economic situation at the moment. There's more question marks than there ever have been. How's that panned out for you on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is we live in an incredibly fast world now, and people make decisions more quickly. They don't spend so much time deliberating over things. And I think from my business with retail, if you could be the best thing since sliced bread selling, but the minute your product stops, you're out the door. Yeah. So I think you've got to always think ahead, but probably not too far ahead, because you really haven't got control. All you've really got is today, and what you can do today to push that boulder a bit further up the mountain.
I was particularly interested in the comment you made about finding people that do things well that you are not good at. But it's quite difficult to admit sometimes that you're not good at something, because we all want, especially if you're running your own business, you want to be able to feel like, oh, I can turn my hand to this, I can do this, I can do that. How do you identify and admit to yourself that maybe I'm not so good at accounts, or maybe I should hand the Twitter account over to someone else?
I think that's a really simple answer. You're generally good at things you like. That's why you're good at it, because you like doing it, so you do more of it. But part of that problem, we're experiencing this in our business with growth, is you need to get the right people to move along the growth curve at the right time together with you, and that includes yourself. So if I'm doing the same thing today as I was a year ago, the chances are the business isn't going to grow.
Yeah.
So you've got to be very brutal with yourself.
That can be
not
tough.
always easy.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you remember to be kind to yourself as well? If you do have challenges and make mistakes along the way.
I think that's part of the journey, isn't it? I mean, I think the challenge is giving yourself recognition and a pat on the back, which you're generally the last person to do that to yourself,
Yeah.
But look, I mean, it's interesting just telling that story there. It did start on Portobello Road. I wouldn't have thought I'd be talking at the British Library years later. But and there's another mountain to climb, because there's always someone bigger and better doing something you want to get to. That's the challenge of being an entrepreneur. It's that constant frustration, but that's what drives you.
Yeah, yeah. It's also very exciting, like you say. Thank you very much, Rick. That's brilliant. Let's hear it for Rick Lowe. Irene, I'd love to be able to ask you to take over. Do you want to go there? Do you want to stay here? You can.
I can go up.
Yeah?
I don't mind. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Oh, crystal. Excellent. So before I get started, it would be kind of good to know, like, by like a show of hands, like how many people actually in the room are focused on fashion or are interested in getting into fashion or their businesses around fashion. Quite a few. Okay, well, I'm Irene, as Amy said, and my business is called TTY London, which she did explain stands for Taller Than Your Average. And I came up with the name because I love Biggie Smalls, and in Hypnotize he has a saying that says thicker than your average, and I thought it would be cool to have a brand that said taller than your average. So that's where my name came from, and this is an amazing image from my first runway show I showed in October last year at Lagos Fashion Week. So yeah, like, let's talk about inclusivity. I think it's kind of like a hot topic at the moment. All the kind of brands are like diversifying about inclusivity and diversity, and standing at 5'11", as you can see, growing up, it was really difficult for me to find clothes that fit. I had older brothers, so like I would always like wear like a double XL men's shirt to like make it work. And I remember an interesting story of at school, the girls were allowed to wear trousers, and at that time there was no shop in London that did trousers that fit my leg length. And later on, Long Tall Sally was around, but it was a bit frumpy, and you never really wanted to say that your trousers were from Long Tall Sally. So, yeah. Then obviously, I noticed a gap in the market for tall women, and I created TTY London as an apparel brand offering tall women a range of, which started off as branded staples. So, like your jersey maxi skirts, maxi dresses, long sleeve tops, like all your kind of wardrobe essentials. And like Amy said earlier, like since launching in 2013, my first stockist was Selfridges, and I was the first tool-specific brand to launch in there. And then I launched in Barney's in New York, which was amazing. Again, similar, same tool-specific brand to launch on there. And then my final and probably my biggest stockist is ASOS.com. And I'm a big believer in 360, and think the universe has an amazing way of like, giving back to you. I was telling the guys earlier that I actually wrote my business plan here at the British Library. I came and did all my research here because I had to find statistics, and when I was doing all my research and trying to just generate data, because I wanted to find like how many women over the age of, or between the ages of like 16 to 24 were like over 5'9". So it was like a lot of statistics that just didn't exist, and it was like trawling through like loads of journals and loads of like records. So I did that here. So it's amazing. It's like a double whammy for me to be able to speak here today, because basically this all started here, to be honest. Wow. So yeah, Glamour magazine labelled my brand one of the coolest fashion brands for tall girls ever, and it's been worn by some amazing women, from Jordan Dunn to Cardi Kloss to Elle Macpherson to Jessie J. I love Cardi B, so as Cardi would say, press, 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 press. Here's some of the press that I've generated since I started the brand. I've been in editorials and online pieces from Elle to Vogue to Wonderland to ID to Sunday Times Style to Company and to Look magazine, and then international press like Vogue Netherlands. I actually was also commissioned to design and curate a collection for 4 seasons for Long Tall Sally. So, like I said, the universe has a funny way of throwing things back at you, 360. The Sold Out collection had a billboard in Times Square, and it was featured in American Vogue. One of the lessons that I did learn from this collaboration is I actually spent a lot of time investing in somebody else's business. Again, they wanted to collaborate with me because I was like the new kid on the block. I was cool. I had a really cult following. But what I didn't learn what I learned afterwards, and I wish someone had told me at the time, was to like make sure that my business was building the same momentum that I was building for somebody else at the same time. So that's something that I learned. Like, they had no Instagram, they had nothing when I went to work with them, and like I like really helped them like integrate socially and commercially. So yeah, here's a couple of pictures of some of the girls, Carly Kloss and Jordan went to a Balmain show actually wearing my clothes, which was amazing. So yeah, like I said earlier, I was invited to show last year at Lagos Fashion Week. So I debuted my first catwalk collection. I actually shot my lookbook in Lagos as well. I had an all-female team. I took some girls out here from London and also recruited locals on the other side in Lagos. So yeah, my whole team and my whole crew were all women of colour. So yeah, we shot the campaign in a bus station in Lagos, and if any of you are Nigerian in here, you know that how bizarre that would have been. But literally, like by the end of the day, we had about 400 people, like literally just standing around watching us shooting, which was actually really fun, but also quite scary. But from that collection, ASOS, I actually took a break from ASOS for 2 seasons, just because I felt like at that time they were kind of dictating to me like what the look and feel of my brand was going to be. And I feel like sometimes with suppliers, you feel as a new brand that you've got to kind of say yes to everything because you don't really want to lose them as a customer. But I felt like the essence of what my brand was about started to get lost because it just kind of was aligning with my stockists and not necessarily with what my ethos was about. So I took a break from ASOS, and after I showed at Lagos Fashion Week, I was able to go back to them with a collection that not only was I super proud of, but was actually gaining momentum commercially as well. So ASOS actually did a 10-piece edit from that Lagos collection. And this was the edit. Again, I pushed for a woman of colour for the collection to be shot on, which for them was actually quite crazy. And to find a tall model as well that could fit in all the product. So I was adamant. And one thing I have learned is about like really standing up for what you believe in as well. I feel like sometimes when you're a new business, you feel like you have to conform to what your suppliers or what people are going to want from you, and you kind of get lost in what the ethos of what your brand is about. So I really took it back. I was able to introduce traditional dyeing techniques from local women in Nigeria, and I was able to also incorporate my Nigerian heritage with my Western upbringing. So yeah, that's what the collection was kind of representing, and this was some of the edit pieces from the collection. These are some of the amazing ladies that have been shot in it, from massive bloggers to models like Lila and Glil and Iman. I also did a collaboration with a friend of mine because she does swimwear, and that was picked up by Farfetch. So we did a limited edition swimwear run in the python print, which was indigo dyed in Nigeria. So yeah, that was sold on Farfetch. And yeah, just to kind of summarize and round up, I did actually start a platform which is called TTYA Talks, and it was I found that when I first got started, I never really had any mentors or women in the industry who were kind of pioneering already. It was very much about like, you know, going to workshops and like connecting and or networking with other people who were on the same level as you. So I started TTYA Talks because during my journey, and I'm lucky enough to have come from a nightlife background, so I do know a lot. I basically, when I was growing up and funding TTYA, I basically worked nights in the nightclub. So it gave me the platform to know a lot of artists and work with a lot of talent because everybody wanted to be my friend because they wanted to get into the club. But again, the universe has a 360 way of being able to provide for you. So now a lot of that talent are girls who like wear my clothes, and it really helped me to be able to have the network. So I've been able to give that back in TTYA Talks. So it's basically a platform where I'm able to bring together entrepreneurs and women who are pioneering in the creative industry. I launched it back in 2015, and my first panelist was Karen Franklin, MB. I'm pretty sure like most of you know who she is. She's amazing. And one of my best friends, FKA Twigs. We focused on kind of industry-specific topics, from the music behind the business behind music, to starting your own fashion label, to Vanessa Kingori, who's now at Vogue. She talked about the behind the scenes of how the actual magazine industry actually works. So it's to give everyone kind of like a more information on the insider from people who are actually doing those roles. So yeah, I've collaborated with brands such as Nike, Beats by Dre, Louis Vuitton, as well as curating events and connecting women globally for the Soho House Group. So I did an amazing event with Beats by Dre for International Women's Day, where I connected women of colour who work in the creative industry. So yeah, you can see here that my own Georgia. So yeah, TTYA is basically my ethos is for the inclusive, let me rewind, an inclusive space for the excluded girl. So that's basically what my brand has always been about, and that's what I always try to pioneer. So yeah, that's me.
Oh my gosh. I've got 3 zillion questions for you, but the first one is, when are you doing a plus size range? I want all those clothes in my size. I know. I'm only teasing. I'm teasing, but they are absolutely gorgeous. And I guess that personal story comes out so strong in your brand. How did you find it engaging with the mainstream fashion world?
Difficult. But like I said, I'm a firm believer in everything happening for a reason, and the way you are kind of set up. So in all of my, apart from Barney's obviously because it's an American stockist, I actually worked at Selfridges. It was one of my first jobs that I had, just on the shop floor. You know, when you're at college, you want a bit of extra money. Like, if I wanted those fresh Nikes, I had to be able to provide it for myself. So as most people do when they're in uni or in college, you take a part-time job. So I understood what Selfridges' ethos was they wanted to be the one-stop shop for every type of woman. But I thought, well, if I'm tall, I can't shop here, so it invalidates your ethos. So when I had my buyers meeting, that was literally the first thing I said. Like, I know your ethos is the one-stop shop for every kind of woman, and I was like, as a tall woman, I can't shop here. And then they were just like, whoa. And I was like, well, I have a solution. That's how it kind of started.
Yeah, and that solution, I mean, you kind of raced through your story, but I want to dig a little bit deeper about that moment where you thought, right, this is what I really want to do. I mean, we seem to jump from you wearing your older brother's clothes through to you being this most amazing global fashion designer. But I'm sure there was a lot of stuff in the middle that happened there. What was it about fashion? Was it really a practical solution to a personal problem? Or was it bigger than that?
Sorry. I'm flicking too much. Basically, I had worked in fashion before I started TTYA. So, like I said earlier, I started my fashion journey on the shop floor, which led me to doing visual merchandising. So I used to do all the windows at Selfridges. And then from then I went into styling. So that's where I met a lot of talent. So I used to style Mark Ronson, Daniel Merriweather, like Jessie J, like back in the day. And I actually got a job at ASOS. So I used to be the head of women's styling at ASOS.com for 3.5 years. And basically everything at ASOS, but not so much anymore, but it used to get retouched so much. They used to spend so much money on retouching because a lot of the models were super tall, but none of the product used to fit. So like they used to retouch the sleeve lengths, they used to retouch the denim, the jeans length. So I used to tell everyone, always watch the videos when you shop on ASOS because you can't retouch the videos. So when I remember after I left ASOS, I took a break because I'd done the jump from college to uni to working lifestyle, and I got a job to intern. Well, actually, just before ASOS, I got a job to intern in Complex magazine in New York, and that basically taught me everything about editorial and shooting. So I'm working with talent. So we shot like Kanye West and Pharrell for like the cover of Complex. So again, I was able to understand the editorial side of fashion, and then working at ASOS, I was able to understand e-com. And when I worked at ASOS, it was called As Seen on Screen. I don't know if any of you guys remember that. This is like 12 years ago. And it was when it was like, oh, Cheryl Cole was wearing a sparkling dress. Let's copy it and sell it for £8. And it was at that, when I got to ASOS, it was just at that turning point where they were stocking more designer brands. And because I had my background from working in Selfridges, they wanted me to kind of come in and be able to curate it so that it was more lifestyle as to per se of just being this, oh, we're just going to rip off dresses that we've seen on Celebrity. So that's where I was able to understand e-com. So when I left, I was like, well, the models are just as tall as me. I've been able to meet all these amazing people at ASOS. So like all my crew that I met at ASOS helped me shoot my first lookbook. So all the models that I worked with, the photographers, the retouchers. So it was just like, I basically felt like up until that point, it was everything had aligned so that I had kind of essentially curated my team. So then, no, those are the people that now helped me when I launched my own brand. So a model called Jamie Guns, who's like ASOS's biggest selling model at the time, who we became friends with because we worked together every single day for 2.5 years. She was the first model for my campaign, and working at ASOS again, that gave me equipped me with the skills to be able to understand how the e-commerce world worked. So when I left ASOS, then I started consulting for other brands because that was at a turning point when everyone was starting to switch to e-com. So I used to do stuff for Amazon, I used to do bits and bobs, and then I went to Australia actually for 4 months randomly because there's this amazing Australian brand that I was obsessed with called Staple who wanted to go onto e-com, and they didn't know how to do it, so they were just literally poaching ASOS people as they do. And I went there to start that, and that's when I had the time to kind of think about, I can't travel lightly. I can't always be wearing double XL or wearing super men's 36 or spending all of this money on tailoring stuff. And I was just like, why don't I just have like a basic wardrobe essentials? And that's where the idea for TTYA came up. And it was just all jersey to begin with, and then it now elevated into being more than just jersey and going into evening wear. As the brand grew, I needed to, like, people was like, I need prom dress, I need this, I need tailoring. And I was like, okay, like trying to like figure it out. But it's always, the essence of it has always been about like what I felt I needed as a tall woman and what I felt was missing on the high street.
Yeah, that's such a fascinating story. And
Sorry,
I'm
a
wondering,
bit of a long one.
Is there a problem with the microphone? Yeah. Okay.
Mic check 1, 2. Oh,
yes. Yeah. So I was interested when you said there in your presentation about mentoring. Mm-hmm. And this is something that, you know, as women we're often told we need. You need to get a mentor. Yeah. But you said that you didn't have one.
No.
And I'm wondering, well, first of all, why? Do you think it would have helped you? Do you think having a mentor is really important? And are you now, I imagine that loads of young women want you to be their mentor now. And so can maybe you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I never had a mentor. If I could probably rewind it a little bit, I definitely would have had someone that was pioneering in this industry, just to kind of guide me through, similar to what Rick said earlier, in that knowing that you make so much mistakes, but part of actually making your mistakes is learning from those mistakes as well. And I was able to kind of, I think I was a bit lucky in the sense that I didn't, because I came from the business that I now went into, I still had certain basic equipped skills. So I understood how something should look on e-com, how to shoot it, the lighting, the product description, sizing. Like, I understood how that needed to be because I had worked in the industry. So I was lucky enough to have been able to have the back-end knowledge, if that makes sense. Yeah. But I do definitely feel like it would have been great to just maybe, and if I'm going to be honest with you, at a senior level at ASOS at that time, it was all men. So there wasn't very many women that were at a senior level within, and I feel like that's also a big issue within fashion and within creative. Like, it tends to be like all the creative roles are like filled with women, and then when you start to get to like exec level, it's literally all men. And even when I went to Long Tall Sally, I literally walk into a boardroom full of short men talking about tall women's fashion. Like, it just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. It just didn't add up, you know? But that's the reality of where things were or are, you know? So I definitely feel like if I could have rewound it, it would have been amazing to have. Yeah. And I did, I guess, get that when I met Corinne Franklin. We went for coffee. Like, I emailed her randomly, and she was just like, just call me. She like gave me her house line number, and I was just like, who still sends their landline number? Like,
who still has a
but
landline?
Also, I was just like, oh my God, I've got her house number. This is so dope. But I like called her, and I was just talking to her about the frustrations. And obviously, she's a massive advocate for, you know, diversity, inclusivity. She's been pioneering it for years. So when I met her, it kind of switched it around and it made me feel like, okay, my role and my voice is to push and to be there for the excluded girl, because for so long, we've always kind of been left with the scraps, or the bigger stores will do it just to say that they had their finger in every pie, but not necessarily do it well. So I always felt like my strong point, even if it wasn't just talking about tall women's clothing, it's about, if we're really going to have this inclusivity conversation, then let's do it correctly, and let's cater for every type of woman.
Yeah. And one question about social media, because I imagine, well, I mean, your clothes are just so lush and so colorful, and I'm sure that social media has played a huge role in your brand growing and expanding. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of that?
Yeah. I'm a very visionary person. Like, I love mood boards, I love images, I love researching. I'm obsessed with Pinterest, obsessed with it. And I feel like that's probably why I've gravitated more towards Instagram as to any other platform, just because visually I find it works best for me. So when Instagram actually brought on Instagram Shop, it was amazing for me, because then it was difficult because I wish they had Instagram Shop for dummies, because it was a lot of late nights, like YouTubing, other people YouTubing about Instagram Shop, and that's how I learned how to do it. But Instagram's played a massive role in my business, because a lot of the girls who have worn my clothes, or the products that's been on TV, like Wendy, I don't know if anyone knows who Wendy Williams is in the US, she wore my brand a lot. And she always used to talk about, like, she had her YouTube channel, so after every show, she does a YouTube channel about what she's been wearing, and she always used to rant about how she loved my brand because she was so tall. So what that did now is, like, it would engage people to have to search for me. And the good thing about Instagram is it's all imagery led, so I could post all the product pictures and all the lookbooks and constant content, and even with the models who wear the clothes, it always kind of came back to, like, it being about the brand as to per se. And also because I'm tall, it's almost like I didn't really want to become the face of my brand. At the beginning, I kind of hid away from, like, being the face of it, because I kind of thought it was like, let me just use models and book everyone and, like, do it the standard way that most online retailers do. And then I was just like, hold on, that's not really cost effective. If I'm 5'11", I can actually, like, wear my own, and that's where my hashtag I wear my own garms comes from, because it's like, I love Wiley, obviously, and I grew up on grime music, but it was about, like, okay, well, I can't say I wear my own garments, so I used to be like, hashtag I wear my own garms, and that's kind of how that started.
Brilliant. I could just chat to you forever
Probably.
and ever. But I am aware that we've got Jamal sitting there.
Restriction.
I've got the pressure of, like, going off YouTube.
Thank you so much. Let's hear it for Irene.
Thank you.
Irene.
No pressure.
So this is when we get to stretch out a little bit, because basically it's just me and Jamal going to have a chat now, which is like my dream come true. And I want to go all the way back to the beginning, Jamal. Tell us what the years before you started SBTV, what were they like for you?
So I started it when I was 15, and I think the main reason for starting it was the artist that I wanted to film wasn't being represented on mainstream media. So I started uploading onto YouTube and putting it on YouTube and trying to find a load of artists that basically wasn't famous. And then that's what allowed me to then open the doors for artists and myself. But similar, I didn't want to be in the public eye as much. I think, like, when people started to know who I was, I really was a fan of Banksy, like, making videos but not knowing who I was. And then I did the Google Chrome advert, which then sort of, like, sprung me into the limelight, and then everyone wanted to know a little bit more about me.
So 15 years old, you're growing up, passionate about music. And how did you kind of get into technology? Because I guess none of this would have been possible in my day, like, because we didn't have computers growing up. Yeah. But, you know, what was your first kind of introduction to technology?
I think it was YouTube and, like, Windows. I had a Windows PC, but I used to have mini DV tapes, and that was what I used to upload onto YouTube. I didn't really know anything about tech. My mum didn't know anything. It was just a lot of like Googling how to learn. And I think in the early days, I wanted to work for BBC, I wanted to work for like these big TV corporations, but I didn't know how to actually get my foot in the door. But then like years later down the line, BBC actually got in touch with me and gave me a job, which was off the back of my YouTube channel, and they said, come in and produce a series for us. So like that was like how it was crazy, because I remember my mum used to take my camera and ground me, but she didn't realise that like I could actually get a job in BBC. Yeah.
I bet she's kind of proud now, isn't she?
Well, yeah, she's proud now, but those days it wasn't funny.
No.
yeah, it wasn't funny.
So 15, you're there, you're teaching yourself how to use a computer and sort of upload all this stuff and everything. And what was the breakthrough moment for you? When did you think, oh, I'm putting all this stuff up here and people are actually watching?
I think, so I was working in Top Man for 5 years. And again, my parents, I wanted to leave Top Man to focus on videos, because I was working at Top Man. This was like years on later down the line. I was going to college, and I figured out if I could make Top Man, if I could leave Top Man, then I can get SBTV like proper going. And I think I came home with my check, and my mum was like, "This is not a steady income. You're staying in Top Man." So I basically worked really hard to match my YouTube checks and my Top Man checks. And I think one day I got it to like, I think it was like 500 quid. And then I went home and I was like, look, I've got it. And then she allowed me to sort of step back a little bit from Top Man and focus on SBTV. So I think that was definitely a moment, a career-defining moment, when I was able to like change it into actual business and make money off YouTube.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And like, who would have thought, like back in the day, that like you could actually turn that into a job?
Yeah. I think that I think in the early days I got denied 3 times for my YouTube partnership, but I still kept on going back. I kept on emailing them and saying, why not? Why can't I? This is something new, original music. I think in the early days it was like Practice Hours, Risky Roads. It was a lot of DVDs that were filming grime artists, but there wasn't anything original on YouTube. And all the stuff that was on YouTube was ripped from the DVDs. So I was like, all right, there's a gap in the market. And then the 3rd time they was able to give it to me as a partnership.
Yeah. Now, you said that you wanted to be behind the scenes, but SB is actually your initials.
Yeah.
Weren't they? So
yeah.
you kind of named your TV channel after yourself.
No, well, yeah. It was Smoky Bars because I was an MC. But that was like a name I want to get rid of. Only people that have been there for like however many years will know that. But SB stands for self-belief. Original Smoky Bars, but self-belief. Yeah.
I like that, repurposing,
yeah,
self-belief.
But yeah, my middle name is Sean Brendan. Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
right, okay, there you go. Yeah. I'm just teasing anyway. But so how were you finding the new content? Because so much of your channel is based on what is new, what is up and coming. You know, that's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. Was it just you? How were you sourcing all of this?
So at the beginning it was me, and it was just my local mates. And then I used to travel to other areas. So I'm from West London, so I used to go to North, East, South. I used to sneak into clubs to try and get artists. I used to wait outside like the Mayfair Hotel. Like, I remember Kelly Rowland was there, so I found out she was there. I was literally like waiting outside to speak to a guy called Darren Dixon and like begging him to get an interview. And it was like just a lot of begging. And after I had the video, I then sent that to other artists. So I was like, look, Kelly Rowland did it. Why can't you do it? And it was just a lot of that.
That is self-belief TV.
Yeah. Self-belief, man. That's what I had. I think like when I was younger, I had a lot of like balls, like just I didn't care. I just wanted to film. I always had my camera. Like I've got my camera in my bag now. Like I've just always got it on me. And I think that's something that people used to recognize a lot.
Yeah. That fearlessness. Going back, that fearlessness, I think, is something that all 3 of you absolutely have. So let's talk a little bit about digital advertising and how that has changed over, the past kind of decade, because now we hear YouTube and social media and stuff. Everybody kind of wanting to make money from that. but you've always retained your authenticity, which is, you know, in a world that is kind of built on things that are always new and shiny and presenting a particular image. How do you preserve that?
I think in the early days, it was how I used to advertise my videos. I just used to use the resource as much. So when Irene was talking about coming here and using the Wi-Fi and the like free printers and stuff like that, in school, I used the printers and ink. So I was able to print out loads of SBTV flyers and literally go to Acton High Street and give them out. That was like one of my early days of advertising. Then another time, I found a computer in my school that took over every single computer in the school and changed it to SBTV homepage. And then basically nearly got kicked out for that. But loads of people knew the channel off the back of that. And then I remember being in like year 10 or year 9, and the older kids used to be like, oh, like, did you hear about this SBTV thing? Like, changed all the computers in the school. And I was like known for that. And then when my parents said, if you do that again, I'm gonna get in serious trouble, I then went, Westfield opened, so then I changed every Apple computer to SBTV on YouTube. And then I started just doing, like, just thinking of ways how I could get the channel out there. And then after that, I was able to employ like a PR to help the videos that I wanted to make. And then it was a lot of like targeted PR after that instead of just doing it rogue. But in the early days, that really did help me like get my name out there, especially in my area.
Yeah, and I guess that's where the roots and the authenticity comes from. I mean, that is real entrepreneurial spirit. Like,
yeah. And then I think
that is admirable.
I think what allowed me to then build it outside of just the local scene is in terms of authenticity and credibility. I think I was very underground and I was just focused on a lot of grime MCs and rappers, and I loved it. That was what I wanted to do. But again, I was trying to think how I could take it to a next level. And I really wanted to film singers. My mum's a singer. She always like, why don't you put singers on the channel? I'm like, I don't think put you on the channel is right at this moment.
Was your mum on the X Factor?
Yeah, back in the day. But I'm glad people don't know that because it's not on the channel. It's not on the channel. But yeah, she came fourth like in one of the years. But I never thought I could ever put her on SB. Maybe now because it's grown. But I remember the first video I did with a singer was like Maverick Sabre and Ed Sheeran. And I remember sitting down with Ed in the kitchen being like, oh, I'm not sure if this video is going to go well. You're going to get loads of dislikes. I'm going to get like no views. But the thing that related a lot was that he was MCing, rapping, singing, and he was very talented. So I realised I could scale up as long as it was good music. So it doesn't matter if it was grime or rap or acoustic or pop. It's just got to be good music, and then that helped me.
Yeah. And talk us through a little bit of your journey then, because, you know, that was a breakthrough moment, you know, when you're realizing, you know, you can make money from it, then you know, you're building your brand. What was the moment when you just thought, whoa, like this is actually everything that I've been working so hard, it's here now?
There's been so many oomph. I call it oomph moments. I think like the MBE was definitely an oomph moment, like when I got that. And it just, if anything, it just like legitimized what I was doing a little bit more. I knew what I was doing. I was quite confident with what I was doing, but I wasn't like, sometimes even when I go into places, I get a bit like, whoa, I'm just a bit nervous. But having an MBE in certain places was opened quite a few doors. And I think also sort of a more recent project that I've been working on for the past year and a half was like setting up youth centres. So like I was supposed to do one youth club in my area when I went back to Acton, and I ended up doing 4, and able to use my partnerships in Google and the Wellcome Trust to help me fund the youth centres. So I've reopened 4 youth centres in Acton, and that when I go there and I've engaged with like 150 kids from my area, I'm just like, whoa, like SBTV over how many years I've been doing it has equaled me into doing this. And I took a bit of a step back from SB to focus on more community work, which has been very I've learned a lot. Like I'm even taking a child trauma course in a few weeks. I want to learn a lot more about the area and how to deal with stuff that happens. So yeah, I think that's like definitely one of my most recent things that I've done that has helped me, not helped me, but SB has helped me create that sort of opportunity.
Yeah. You've done a lot of work to help break down stigma around mental health and anxiety and things like that. Could you tell us a little bit more about that as well?
Yeah, I think one of the early things, even like coming to present, I'm like getting clammy hands thinking about me presenting, and that's why I like to have a conversation. And it's one of the things that I always try and get over. But I think what started me working a little bit more around the mental health was, unfortunately, 2 people on the estate that I grew up on, killed themselves within a short period of time. And all the boys on the estate were like, we don't know how and why is that happening. And I just thought I had a responsibility to have a conversation about it and get some tough, rough guys to talk about their feelings a little bit more. And I felt like I had a platform to be able to do that. And it just happened because of that. I didn't have any other reason to do it except for it affected people that was close to me. And that's the reason why I do it. And if I can do it a little bit more, but it's got to be in obviously a way that's sort of just credible, not just doing it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah. Well, it seems like everything you've done has been based on, those deep roots of authenticity. So that carries you through life.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd like to ask you a question about, because me being the night czar and, helping London to thrive at night, do you think that there's, basically, can we work together?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Basically, I'll
100%.
just blurt it out.
You should come to our event. Me and Irene got an event on Sunday. Yeah, we pulled out of the bag last minute. So it's funny how she was on the panel as well. Everything happens for a reason. We've got a fashion week. Yeah, so feel free to come to that.
Fantastic. That would be brilliant.
No
okay.
I've also got one of the oomph moments that happened that I always play was the Google Chrome adverts. I don't know if many have seen it.
Can we have a look?
I'll play that. It's like an old school video. If it plays. No?
It will.
Maybe not. But yeah,
it's worth waiting for.
Is it?
Yeah. We're gonna be taking questions from the audience next, so you might want to mull over any questions you have for all of our panelists while the tech team gets this. Oh, there you are. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, when they get it up, they might have to load it up. So we'll come back to it in a second. Do we have any questions to open it up to the audience? Yes. Who's got the microphone? You?
There's roving mics.
Okay. Who's got the roving mic? Are you there? We have a woman just here in the middle. Put your hand up. Yeah, you. That's great. With the spectacles there.
Hi. I just wanted to ask a question to everyone, really. And I was just kind of listening to the stories of how you started your business, and most of you had come from a place where you was already employed. So I'm just kind of asking a question for those that may be trying to go into self-employment but may not have got the experience in the industry or the fields that you may have had in your employment kind of journey. What would you say to those type of people? And would you say that it's better to build yourself up in your field and in your niche through employment before you go out and start your business, or kind of go out and just take a leap of faith?
Rick, what do you think?
I think firstly you've got to decide what you want to do. So do you like your job, and are you going to try and do something in a similar vein of what you're doing? If not, then you've got to look at the skills you've developed in that job, and most skills are portable because they involve people. So especially in business. So I think it's really a question of being fearless and just going for what you believe you want to do. And those doors, as you know, as we've heard tonight, those doors tend to open once you step through them. But I wouldn't ever shy back. I think that everyone's got a different story, and there's no right or wrong. It's just your own story. So you've just got to put one step in front of another.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like for you, especially like working in the field that you then wound up working in, basically equipped you with so many connections. Is that something that you could talk about?
I still worked when I started. Well, when I was here, coming and doing my business plan and researching, I still always worked part-time. I only really kind of threw myself into TTYA, I would say probably when I got ASOS, and that was probably a year and a half after I'd launched the business. I really focused on just TTYA. I always worked, whether it would be through styling or through curating, and I always had and I probably even say till now, like I'm quite a busybody in a sense of I don't just do one thing, but everything kind of still has like a common ground, if that makes sense. So I still work in nightlife, I'm still a curator, I still work with big brands, because that still gives me the network and opens my personal business into a different level. So I feel like, again, it just kind of depends on what works best for you, but the bottom line is, you still got bills to pay, so you still have to be a bit practical. I mean, it's like, I know with success stories, we kind of always just show you guys all the highlights, but yeah, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and long hours, like Jamal was saying, I used to do TTYA in the day and then work at the clubs or work at the hotels at night time, just so that I could still have an income and still pay all my bills whilst I was trying to get TTYA, because for a long time, it was still probably making enough to just turn itself over. So it wasn't enough where I could pull money out of it to go on holiday or buy new shoes. So it was just trying to get a balance still, for me.
And Jamal, you mentioned you worked at Topshop, but then you actually wound up designing for them as well, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I think the thing that I was trying to get over was I didn't want to work at Topman, and then at the end I was like, Topman actually opened me up, because I was quite closed person, and I think me going up to ask people for store cards, one of the most frightening things ever, talking to people that you don't know. And I think that's what helped me build my confidence a lot more. So even though I didn't want to work at Topman, I still learned a lot from Topman. And I think I say to a lot of young people is even though Topman wasn't my job of choice, it still allowed me to fund and get my lights and my camera. So even though you might be I don't want to do this job, just if you manage your money correctly, you'll be able to leave and put it into actually what you want to do. So I get a lot of people, young kids that say, I'm not working in McDonald's, not working in Starbucks, I want to do this. But the mind's small. You need to manage your money correctly, go get a job, and just then fund your actual dream that you want to do.
Yeah, it's all those transferable skills like you talk about. I mean, it's, it might seem like a big gap between going up to somebody and ask them if they want a store card and going up to a celebrity and say, will you let me film you? But I guess it's the same, it comes from the same place, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Having that confidence, that fearlessness to do it.
Triple F.
Yeah. Let's take another question.
Yeah, got a question here.
Yeah?
Stop that. Oh, no, go on. Second, I'll be second.
Oh, sorry. No, sorry, I didn't see you there. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you very much. And I want to say to everyone on the panel, amazing. Honestly, big up yourselves for contributing to us. Honestly, it's an invaluable experience, and thank you on behalf of everyone here. Thank you for that. So my question is, it's half question, half just gratitude, really. I'm in the music industry, and I find it quite fitting that all of you are in creative industries as well, in terms of the IP and the branding, the fashion, and then obviously music as well. And big up Jamal, what you did. I remember that video, the one you were talking about, Maverick Sabre and Sharon. I remember I was in school when I watched that. So I just had to mention that quickly as well. But I'm actually an artist, man. I'm here with my artist, Clone9 here. He's hiding. All you heard that here, Clone9, at Clone9. Anyway, sorry. And my question is, because all the things that you've mentioned is about collaboration and stuff. Like I want to potentially like collaborate with all of you on the panel. So how would I go about doing that? And like, no, this is my question though. Like, how would I go about doing that?
It comes back to that.
You got balls.
Yeah, like fearlessness and the thing there. You understand?
There you go. He answered his own question.
Yep. So do you get lots of people coming up to you saying, like I just did, tomorrow I want to work with you?
If you send me your music, so is your artist there? Yeah. If you send me, I'll give you my email and just send me over some music so I can have a listen, innit? I think that's definitely one way that I can see if I can help or at least give some feedback. Definitely.
I think you answered your own question. You said fearlessness. So the fact that you were even able to just come out and say that anyway, I've got to respect that. So your confidence level's on 1 trillion. So I'm not sure how I can help, but yeah, I'll be around after if there's anything that you want to ask me.
You like how everybody is taking your fearlessness.
Well, I think someone once told me the silliest question is the one you don't ask. So you just ask the question. So well done.
Brilliant.
Thank you for the yeses from all three of you.
We had a gal here in a stripy top. Just there? In a stripy top.
Thank you again. It's been so inspiring. I just wanted to ask, as business owners, entrepreneurs, you'll walk to the end of the earth for your business and you'll work crazy hours and do the craziest things. But I wanted to ask, as a business owner myself, I quit my job 2 months ago and the fearlessness, I've gone for it, but I'm really struggling to find the balance between my personal life and my work. So I want to know, how do you prevent burnout and how do you look after yourself? Like, could you give any advice?
Okay, who's got the magic answer to that one?
Mine's exercise. I'm not going to lie. I did the same thing because I was working all days and working all nights. I got to a point where my body shut down. I got really sick. And again, if you're running your own business, it's your health should be your number one priority but you also, it makes you feel like you have to put provisions in place because your business needs to be able to function without you. What I learned was that I can't be everywhere and do everything. So going back to what Rick said, you need to be able to collaborate with the right people and be able to build your team and build your network so that if you do need to be like, hi guys, I need a month off or I need to take some time out, you are able to do that. But I think work-life balance is super important, and the way I've been able to do that is I love working out. I run a lot. I'm part of a running club. I tend to work out every morning, but that even if it's just doing yoga or going to Barry, my favourite thing is Barry's boot camp, but it gives me an hour and a half every day where I'm not looking at so I don't look at my emails when I wake up. I don't look at social media when I wake up. I go to exercise and then I'll have breakfast and then I tackle everything just so that I'm in the right state of mind. And I feel like sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, you're used to like sometimes being on your computer. Sometimes I'm on my computer 18, 19, 20 hours a day, or I'm looking at my phone. So which in turn, also my eyesight, I'm short-sighted, but I feel like it's been heightened now where I'm spending so much time on computer or so much time on the phone. So I've put provisions in place where I tend not to like look at my phone when I first wake up, and just to make sure that I'm looking after myself and eating well. And I'm a little bit older than Jamal, but I'm just being able to like make sure that I'm in a space where I'm functioning, because again, you want to be in the best healthy position that you can be to lead your business and to guide it. And if you're sick, you're not going to be able to do that.
That also includes mental health, doesn't it, Jamal?
I think one of the, I feel like you covered the life aspect. I think the personal one is the spending time with your family and friends, and I feel like that affected me when I was younger. But your real family and your real friends will always be there. And I think like when you're doing your business, you're going to be busy, and you're going to be doing the exercise, you're going to be doing everything, but you're not going to have time for them. And some of the relationships are going to break down, and it's going to affect you. Like, oh, why are you not talking to me? I've split up with that person, whatever. And what you've just got to keep in your mind, the person if they're really there for you, they will be there in 10 years. And I've realised that when I was a little bit younger, I wanted to be all around my friends, and it affected me. But now I know the real ones that are there and some aren't. So yes, when you're creating a business, you are going to lose and break some relationships, but you just got to stay strong in your mind that the real ones will always be there as well.
Yeah. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I think really Irene, Jamal said it all. I think the only thing I'd probably add is, you know, you're going to be busy, you're going to be stressful, there's no right or wrong way. I mean, but the sun will rise tomorrow. So whatever bad day you have, and we all have them, and business is difficult, so very difficult most of the time actually. You just got to put it in perspective and compartmentalise it. But, looking after yourself and having the right people around you is really important, because that keeps you grounded and keeps you healthy.
Another question. Yeah, there's a gal in the back with the yellow top. And then we'll come to you there in the white top.
Thank you. This is a quick question I wanted to ask. Can everyone be entrepreneurs? I think it's something that I'm pondering over right now. I'm a writer. I would love to have my own publishing company. Dream about it, sleep about everything. It's just on my mind constantly. I was also a young mum, so I had a kid at 16. I was a homeless young person. So now I'm an adult and I have a really good job, really well paid. It plays on my mind that, I'm in this visual place that looks like success to everyone, but I can't stop thinking about the fact that I want to write and I want to have a publishing company. But can everyone be an entrepreneur? Am I just dreaming? If it's on my mind, is it set for me? Was there another option for any of you? Was you always going to be who you are today? Or was there another path?
I think 100%. There's a research. There was a study that said, are you born an entrepreneur, or are you native or nurture? And for example, my parents weren't entrepreneurs, but I've managed to go down an entrepreneur route, and there's other entrepreneurs, parents that I know, and their kids haven't gone down it. So there's no reason why you don't plan for the bigger future. So yeah, I don't think. What was your question? I was getting lost.
No. You were answering. But
Everyone can be an entrepreneur. Sorry, I was going off. My mind was just off. But yeah, I think everyone. Sorry. I think everyone. This is what I'm saying. My mind's going 100 miles an hour. I'm really trying to think. Do you know what I was trying to think of? I was trying to think of what you said you do that could apply to a publishing company, which lost my chain of thought.
Sorry.
But I think there's no reason.
Just to add on to that, could you have been anyone other than who you are today?
I could have been a manager of Top Man.
Could you have been? Was that something that was an option for you?
I think I would have, wherever I am, I would have worked my way up. Yeah. So, regardless if I started off as a runner or I was at BBC, I would have worked my way up. I started as a floor assistant. I was working at back of house. I then got to the floor. I think I got to the one before the floor manager at Top Man, and then that's when I realised I was making enough money from YouTube to then leave. But if you're in a steady, stable income, I would try and save as much. Look at what you might have an addiction to sweets or something. A sweets over a year, that is a saving. Do you know what I'm saying? And other little things that I've realised that I was divulging in, and then I was able to make savings, which then I was allowed to apply to SBTV. You just got to be really strict.
Thank you.
Let's take a. Oh, sorry, did you want to answer? No? I just want to make sure we can get as many questions in as possible. Yes, this lady here in the white.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you for great talks. It's been absolutely amazing. Got lots of stuff I've typed on my tablet. What I wanted to ask, because quite a few people have asked questions that I already was thinking of, how have you dealt with obstacles and challenges on your path to success? Because I'm sure it would be great if everything was plain sailing, but I'm sure there must have been times you got that no, or several doors slammed in your face, or it was, sorry, don't want to work with you, you're not kind of what I'm looking for. How did you find that impetus to keep that growth mindset and keep going?
Yeah, that's interesting. Rick, I know you alluded to that when you were, taking your T-shirts around and knocking on doors of some of the bigger shops.
Yeah. Look, I think you've got to have so from day one, you've got to have the desire, and you've got to be locked into what you're doing, the self-belief. And I think that's what carries you through. The challenges keep coming. So the bigger you go up that tree, the more problems you have to solve. So all you do when you grow a business and the more successful you are, you generally spend 90% of your time dealing with problems, which are generally people related, actually. Funny that, isn't it? But so the glamour and the fun element does get diminished, but of course you're so far into it then, you've got the skills and mindset to do it. But look, I have really bad days and things that, if someone nicks a customer off me, it gets you down, because you're human, right? You're emotional, but you've just got to keep going. And the sun will rise tomorrow, regardless.
What about you?
Do you want me to add in?
You just sort of like dealing with challenges that come your way.
I think for me, I never had a fashion background. I actually studied forensic science. I'm a forensic scientist.
Oh my gosh.
Mad thing, innit? Because my mum's Nigerian. She was not interested in fashion 1 ounce. Not gonna lie to you, yeah. Until my brand went into Selfridges, my mum thought I wasn't bluffing anymore. She really thought I was just out here bluffing in these streets. So, I think for me it was a personal. I can even give you an example. One of my first shipments to ASOS got ruined by the rain. The forwarder had left it. Well, they said that they had covered it, but in between it being getting from docking in Folkestone or whatever to the warehouse, somehow these boxes had been destroyed by water. So the forwarder didn't want to take in the responsibility, and ASOS obviously said it hadn't reached them yet, so they weren't responsible for the stock. So then the factory was saying to me that I was responsible for the stock because it had left the warehouse. So I basically ended up being like, I'm going to fight this because I think the factory had expected me to just kind of roll over because they knew I was a small brand and they knew maybe I didn't have the resources. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to let them take advantage of me. Like, the bottom line is you're responsible from the stock until it switches over to ASOS. That's the bottom line. Even though I do have insurance, even though you still have the back end, but that's, as a forwarder, that's your job. Until you've signed over and you've got signed over the packing list to ASOS, you're responsible for it. But in my head, I remember just sitting down thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do if I have to pay for all this stock? How am I going to get over this? What am I going to do? And I just thought I'm going to have to, like Rick said, you learn so much. And I feel like sometimes what they don't tell you is when things go wrong, it is for you to learn that lesson so that lesson will never happen again. And I feel like sometimes you can get so consumed with oh my God, all of these things is happening to me and I don't know what my next steps are. And it's just I've learned now to just kind of step back, see what the lesson is here and try and problem solve more than just kind of I think when I first started, I'd always be like, this ain't how it's supposed to be. And you get so consumed of being like, this ain't how it's supposed to be. And and I think the more problems you have, you now become a bit more of a problem solver. So it's just okay, cool. Okay, this has happened. I can sit here and cry about it for 10 hours, or I can just be like, okay, cool. How do we move? So I feel like that's as you grow and as you develop as a person as well, you now start to see things more as a lesson and an experience as to per se a mistake.
They covered it.
Yeah. Well, we've got a question here from our friends who are watching in Cambridge. Hello, Cambridge.
Hi, Cambridge.
And the question has just come through on Twitter and said, do the panel all have an exit strategy for their businesses?
That's a good question.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Do you want to elaborate a little bit?
Well, here's what happens in life is as you go through life, things change, and you change and you develop. So what was probably important to you 10 years ago is pretty much irrelevant sometimes today, but there's some core things that are important. And the big question probably, which I think will answer it, is, what is your life purpose? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? And you can spend 90 hours doing something you love. I enjoy what I do, but I want to do other things with that time. So your business is a vehicle, it's not you. So you've got to, for me, I want to sell it and probably keep a hand in with it, but eventually, trigger financial freedom. So that'll allow me to do other stuff, different for everybody else.
Jamal, do you have an exit strategy? Are you still in it?
Yeah,
loving
I'm
it?
still in it. To be honest, I haven't been doing as much content as I used to because I've been focusing on the community work. But next year, 2020 Vision, I'm coming back to do more content. And I think, like, I had to catch up with Darkest Beast, who is now the president of Island Records, and he said, like 20 years as a career, he's been in it for like 20 years, so I'm like 10 years in, so I'm like halfway in, so I still feel like I've got a lot more to give. But saying that, I'm like doing investment and I'm consolidating everything and putting it all together to scale up to the next level. So yeah, one day I know the investors will want an exit strategy, but I haven't got a plan now. I'm just like the power of now, just living in it.
Just enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Marina?
I think mine's a bit of a tricky one because I'm at a point in my life where I think there's no party I haven't been to, there's no club I haven't entered, there's no function that I haven't enjoyed.
What a fab place to be.
And I'm probably at a point now where I'm thinking about next steps and wanting to start a family and I think for me it's interesting because I think with fashion in particularly, where this economy is going is going to play a big part of that, and everything's so uncertain at the moment. But also, like, it's interesting because I kind of have a love-hate relationship with fast fashion because I always feel like, oh, I wish I was like the 12-year-old girl that could go onto like Boohoo and get a sick dress for £12. But then the business in me is also just a bit like, but £12? Like, you're doing the maths backwards and you're like, I can't realistically like make clothes for £12. Like, I just can't do it. So you're now starting to think, okay, you have to realistically look at where the fashion market is going. Like, even Topshop are in problems. All the big brands are in financial crisis. So you're also like in a place where you're now thinking, cool, like what's the actual future of fashion? So I feel like you also have to be realistic and have a broader, I feel like my job doesn't own me, a bit like what Rick said. It's like, it is a vehicle, and I feel like, again, like the universe will take me to the next level, and this is probably part of my journey into entering into that next level of greatness.
And I guess, you know, the opportunity to expand to all the countries in the world that have really tall people.
Like Sudan, I just found out about, and I'd love to go to Sudan.
Yeah, amazing. So I think, Jamal, we're going to take a little flashback in time right now because your video is ready. Let's have a little look.
What you doing filming me? Jamal!
My stamina's healthy, so it's music, no more beat in the shows. Not just in it for the peas and the gold.
I'm just a kid who dreams bigger than the rest. Now I'm living them correct here, sitting in the
SB, if you need a bar, then get me.
Educate yourself, see it's not the money you make. It's compulsory, some are calling it poetry. SB TV.
But you never catch me. Explosive style, don't think I'ma blow, I get therapy now.
It's like a tractor. I ride smooth, beat like a train. Choo-choo, go hard, go faster. Stack peas every day. I ride smooth, beat like a tractor.
That is just the most perfect and inspiring way to end our chat. We've got more questions. You can save them because we're going to go and have drinks and have a chance to chat together. So will you please just join me in thanking all of our panelists today for sharing their inspiring stories. Thanks to everybody who's been watching streaming, and thank you to you for coming tonight. Now, let's get this party started. Thank you.